We are on the run-up now to Celtic returning this weekend, as we almost are through yet another international break. Despite us not playing, there are still things to go through in and around the club. In today's video, we'll discuss all the latest Celtic news from the last 24 hours. But first, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel for daily Celtic content. Former Celtic star Jota may still have a chance to rescue his career in Saudi Arabia. Reports have emerged to suggest that the Portuguese winger has been denied a release by Al Ittihad because they are still considering giving him another chance at the club. The 24-year-old's move to the Middle East quickly turned sour this summer. He joined the Saudi champions from Celtic in June for a fee of £25 million. He appeared to integrate into the squad brilliantly, striking up a connection with Karim Benzema upon his arrival from Real Madrid. However, Jota has managed just 5 competitive appearances for the club, and the switch to Saudi has not gone to plan. Jota was not registered by Al Ittihad for their squad to compete in the Saudi Pro League. Due to the division's rules, clubs are only allowed 8 foreign players in the squad. Al Ittihad had too many, and so Nuno Espirito Santo left Jota out of his ranks. It means that until January, Jota can only feature in AFC Champions League games and Club World Cup games. This has led to speculation that the winger would attempt to terminate his contract with the prospect of next to no football for the next several months. However, according to Saudi media outlet Hata, the club's management are considering bringing Jota back into their league squad when the winter window reopens. Speaking to football TV show the Rina Gir Hamad Al Saouhi was far from convinced about the move. The insider said, Jota is contracted at a large financial cost without the club benefiting from his services. Ittihad's management must be held accountable for contracting with Jota. What happened is considered a disaster. Rodgers will be rubbing his hands at the prospect of defeating another Rangers manager, according to Chris Sutton. During his 2 spells at Parkhead, the Irishman has seen of Mark Warburton, Pedro Cicina and Michael Beale, and Sutton reckons the former Leicester City boss will be excited to fend off whoever is next in the hot seat at Ibrox. It has today been confirmed that Philippe Clement is the chosen one and is the new manager of Rangers. Chris Sutton had this to say before the manager was confirmed. Rodgers has already seen plenty of Rangers managers off the premises. I bet he's salivating at the prospect of putting another one to the sword. Perhaps I'm wrong. Perhaps Rodgers would have been quite happy for Michael Beale to stay in charge, because that particular Ibrox project was going absolutely nowhere. But having helped bring about the Londoner's demise by beating him on his own patch with half a team missing and none of his club supporters inside the stadium, I'm convinced the Celtic boss will be licking his chops at getting stuck into sinking the next appointment. Mark Warburton didn't last long once Parkhead chiefs saw sense and led Ronnie Dyler out of the door to bring in the Northern Irishman. Pedro Cicina was next with his caravans and dogs chat, and he was never going to pose a serious threat to the dominance of Celtic boss. Trebles collected on their respective watches, and Steven Gerrard was going the same way before Rodgers headed for Leicester, and Neil Lennon impressively finished off the job. For all of that, Rodgers had some issues during his first spell at the club. He always had Rangers in his pocket, and that's massive at the old firm. Celtic starlet Jacob Donie has signed a pre-contract with the Scottish champions ahead of penning a professional deal. The player has featured for the under-18s and also been capped at youth level for Scotland. His pre-contract agreement means the midfielder will pen a 3-year deal at Parkhead next summer. Donie is highly rated, and Celtic have seen of competition from several clubs down south to get his signature. There was plenty of Celtic involvement as Japan thrashed Canada 4-1 in a friendly. Kyogo and Hata came off the bench for the hosts in a comfortable victory, whilst Alistair Johnson started the fixture as he played for 80 minutes. Japan were 3-0 up at half-time after strikes from Tanaka and Nakamura, as well as his own goal from Bayern Munich fullback Alphonso Davies. Johnson made a mistake for the 3rd goal as he lost the ball in midfield, and the visitors were swiftly punished. Tanaka then grabbed his 2nd goal just after the break to give Japan a commanding lead. Junior Hoilett scored a consolation goal in the 89th minute for Canada. The game was Canada's first under interim coach Mauro Biello, a former assistant coach who was put in charge after John Herden left to take over Toronto FC. Meanwhile, Celtic defender Gustav Lagerbielke scored his 1st goal for Sweden in their 3-1 win over Moldova. The 23-year-old nodded home from a corner just before half-time in what was only his 2nd cap for his country, and Lagerbielke spoke after the match about his goal being a dream come true. He told Swedish outlet Football Skalanen, "It's a childhood dream to play here at Friends for the national team and then scoring a goal as a bonus. I'm very happy right now. I have scored a few goals in training and there have been no goal gestures. When you get the chance, you have to try and take it. I think I made a good effort. It's up to Jan Anderson and Peter Wotergen. I load up as if I'm going to play. The centre-back has had an up-and-down start to his Celtic career. After keeping a clean sheet in the Parkhead side's 1-0 win at Ibrox, he was sent off in the Champions League against Feyenoord last month. Celtic coach Harry Kewell detailed the differences of working with Ange Postecoglou and Brendan Rodgers. The former Liverpool midfielder is in his second year at Parkhead after being brought to the club by his fellow Australian last summer, and Kewell has detailed the key differences in terms of coaching style between both men. Speaking to Celtic TV, he said, "You will probably expect to work with a manager for at least 3 to 4 years before there's a change. I've been able to work with 2 great managers in the space of 2 years, 2 managers who are regarded highly in the sport, but have completely different ideas. I enjoyed working with Ange. His ideas of football were great. He knew exactly what he wanted and the way he presented it was clear cut. It wasn't even black and white, it was just straight black. There you go, that's how clear he was. Now, being able to work with Rodgers is different. In a way, I see myself more like a Brendan Rodgers type of manager. He looks at the game in a different way. He likes to adapt certain things and make tactical changes. It's enjoyable seeing this side of it. It's early, we're still picking up his ideas, but they're quite clear." Hata came to the fore last weekend for Celtic, scoring a skillful goal in a deserved 3-1 win over Kilmarnock. It was a standout performance for the Japan internationalist, who was like a fresh addition to Brendan Rodgers' squad, according to Chris Sutton. The former treble-winning striker spoke about Hata in his recent Record Sport column, and his resurgence in form. He said, "Hata's performance is also noteworthy. I've been saying for weeks that Rodgers had to get the Japanese up and running because he is so important. Hata was my player of the year last season, and the fact he wasn't properly contributing must have been a source of frustration. Any frustrations Brendan Rodgers had over Hata will have been banished by now with his killy display." The Irish gaffer sat down with the 25-year-old after the Lazio match and pinpointed the areas he needs to improve in. Hata most certainly took the advice on board. Sutton said, "Suddenly he gets back to near his best against Killy, and the whole thing starts to fire. It stands to reason, and he's like a new signing." At least for Rodgers, Hata will feel like a fresh addition to the team, down to the fact he hadn't hit top gear until before last weekend's match. He will aim to kick on from here and become a key contributor as the season transpires. Celtic fans, what do you make of the other side's managerial appointment? Let me know down in the comment section below. That brings us to the end of today's video, guys. Make sure you drop a like on this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Remember, we have released our brand new Celtic t-shirts. We have our Brendan Rodgers Pope t-shirt and our Celtic Ultra t-shirts too. You can find them at celticpower.com or just go down to the link in the description. Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.